Hello, my name is Teresa Floyd, and this presentation will show the results from the social network survey that was conducted by myself and my research team in September of 2018. The research team includes Kristen Cullen-Lester from the University of Houston, me, Teresa Floyd from the University of Montana, and Travis Grosser from the University of Connecticut. Our goals for this project were to measure and provide feedback on collaboration by looking at the social networks across the organization, and measure and provide feedback on employee engagement, which is how attached employees are to the organization and how much motivation employees have to work towards the organization's goals. Our agenda for today is to first review what we found out about the workplace networks at the credit union. Then next we'll discuss the employee engagement responses, and finally provide a summary of the results. First network we're going to examine is the network of collaboration. The question used to examine this network is, please select anyone with whom you've interacted professionally in the last 6 months. So these are basic within organization collaboration ties. Each square represents an individual in the organization, and each line represents a tie between two individuals, a tie of professional interaction. You can see that the squares have been colored by the name of their branch. One thing to observe is that the core of the network, the center of the network, contains employees from all the branches, although the south side, due to its size, definitely dominates. Second, you can see that employees are collaborating across boundaries because of this mix of different branches in the core of the network. And finally, average degree indicates that there is extensive collaboration between employees in the organization. This measure means that the average person, the average employee in the organization, interacts professionally with 71 other employees. Density is a measure of how interconnected the network is, and it can vary between 0 and 1. So you can see that at 0.496, this network is relatively dense as well. The next network we'll examine is the frequent collaboration networks, and the question used is, how frequently do you interact with each person on a 1 to 5 scale? This network shows all the responses of at least once a week interaction. Again, all the nodes, all the squares are colored by branch. And you can observe that frequent collaboration is less common than regular interaction, and it's more centralized in a smaller number of employees. The average degree is 29.61, which means that the average employee interacts frequently with about 20, well, almost 30 other employees. And the density is 0.21, which is much less dense than the regular collaboration network. And employees who work in the same branch are more likely to collaborate with each other at least once per week. The next network is desire more collaboration. And basically what we're looking at here is where people nominated other people with whom they would like to collaborate more closely. So all of the lines have arrows that are pointing to individuals, and what that means is that the arrow points to the individual who was nominated by somebody else as someone that they would like to collaborate with more closely. Again, the squares are colored by branch, and a couple of interesting observations. Desire for more collaboration exists both within and between branches and departments. So employees desire more collaboration within their department and to other departments as well. And Southside employees are prominent in this network, partly due to the size of the branch. Average degree indicates that on average, employees have nominated 5 other employees, and the density of this network is quite open with only a 0.04 density level. This table aggregates the desire for more collaboration nominations by branch, and with this table we can see that Southside, partly because of its size, is sending a lot of desire more collaboration nominations and also receiving a lot. However, when you control for size, there's a relatively high need for more internal collaboration in the downtown branch, and the reserve branch is being nominated relatively frequently by the Russell branch, the Southside branch, and the University branch. This table aggregates the desire for more collaboration ties by department. And given its size, many of the ties are coming from or going to the teller department. However, controlling for size, the IT department is requesting more collaboration with multiple other departments. And the other red cells indicate higher than average values given department size as far as desire for more collaboration. The next network we will examine is trust and competence. The question is, I am confident that this person has the knowledge and competence to get tasks done. And you can see this is a relatively dense network with a density score of 0.37 and an average degree of 53. So on average, employees are rating high trust in 53 other employees, or 75% of the people that they collaborate with. This is important because employees are more likely to seek advice and be guided by others whose competence they trust. The next network we'll look at is trust and goodwill. The question is, I feel comfortable going to this person to share problems and difficulties that I am facing. So this is just measuring a general feeling of trust about the other's goodwill towards you. And again, this is a relatively dense network. The average degree is 32. So on average, employees are naming 32 other people whom they trust, and the density is 0.22. On average, employees rated high trust in about 45% of their collaborators. The advice network is the next one that we will review. And the question is, please select those to whom you go for work-related advice and knowledge. This network, on average, has a degree of 23, which means that employees are naming, on average, 23 other people to whom they go for advice. The density is 0.16, so it's a relatively open network. And on average, employees are seeking advice from 32% of their collaborators. Who is seeking advice from whom? This table aggregates our data by branch and shows, not surprisingly, that many of the advice ties are going to or coming from the Southside branch. However, the red numbers are indicating values that are higher than we would expect given the branch size. It looks like the downtown branch is seeking advice widely across several branches, and Russell and Reserve are sought out for advice from multiple other branches. This table breaks the same data down by department. And again, the teller department is dominating sheerly because of size, but the red numbers indicate the values that we would not expect given department size. The last network we'll examine is called the Strained Relationships Network. And we asked people how you would describe your professional relationship with each person. And this network includes, I prefer to avoid working with them, or we have a somewhat strained relationship. Clearly, strained relationships are very uncommon. Only about 3% of all the collaboration relationships at the credit union fall into this area. Employees who collaborate frequently are slightly more likely to have a strained relationship. On average, people are nominating only 2 other people, and the density is very, very sparse. Key takeaways regarding the networks at the credit union are, overall, things are looking pretty healthy. No major red flags. There's always room for improvement, though. Employees who work in the same branch are collaborating more frequently, and when they collaborate more frequently, they're more likely to trust in competence and goodwill, and also more likely to rate their relationship as effective. Employees are more likely to seek advice from others whose competence they trust, and are more likely to desire more collaboration when they trust the other person's competence and when they go to that person for advice. Finally, employees who collaborate frequently are slightly more likely to rate their relationship as strained. Next, we're going to discuss our employee engagement responses. The 4 attitudes that we will review are job satisfaction, fairness of responsibilities and rewards, fairness of procedures, and intention to turnover. So all measures are assessed on a scale from 1 to 7. 1 equals strongly disagree, 7 equals strongly agree. So the higher the mean, the more strongly the employees agree. In the case of job satisfaction and the 2 fairness attitudes, higher scores are better. In the case of intention to turnover, lower scores are better. This slide shows job satisfaction by branch and department. The questions that we use are listed on the lower left-hand side. Some observations to note. We're showing you responses from 4 to 7. So nobody is less than neutral on job satisfaction, and none of the values are critically low. There are statistically significant differences between the branches. And we care about job satisfaction because it predicts intentions to turnover and performance. Those numbers in parentheses are the statistical analyses that we conducted. A p-value less than 0.05 is typically seen as statistically significant, and correlation value greater than 0.2 is usually seen as a moderately strong correlation. That's the R value that we're reporting. This slide shows the fairness of responsibilities and rewards perceptions broken down by branch and department. There are, again, no critically low values here, although the real estate loan department is approaching the neutral point. And this attitude is positively correlated with job satisfaction and negatively correlated with intention to turnover. Fairness of procedures broken down by branch and department. The questions used are in the lower left. This attitude scores lower than all of the other attitudes. Certain branches are approaching the neutral point. Surprisingly, though, this variable is not highly related to job satisfaction or intention to turnover, which is unusual. Finally, intention to turnover, we're showing the lower half of the scale. So anywhere from 1 to 7 could have been the average. You can see that only the university branch is approaching the neutral point, and lower scores on intention to turnover are better. The differences between the branches and departments are not statistically significant. Finally, perceived intergroup collaboration looks at how employees feel about their abilities to collaborate across organizational boundaries. You can see the questions in the lower left-hand corner. We've got some lower scores on this one in certain branches and departments. And we care about this attitude because it's related with motivation to network as well as other outcomes like job satisfaction, intention to turnover, and fairness perceptions. So what factors are influencing these employee engagement results? If we look at the left-hand side, job satisfaction and intention to turnover are related to perceived intergroup collaboration, fairness of responsibilities and rewards, and job satisfaction is related to having a relational self-concept and a collective self-concept. The self-concept levels are shown on the right. And really what we're talking about here is whether individuals tend to identify with the collective, with other individuals, or more individualistically. The other thing to note, at the credit union, having a more individual focus in your self-concept is positively related to intention to turnover. Key takeaways here. Engagement levels are generally high across the entire organization. There are places where branches and/or departments are approaching neutral, so maybe some proactive attention here would be prudent. And then factors such as intergroup collaboration, fairness perceptions, and self-concept are significantly associated with outcomes like job satisfaction and intention to turnover. For our grand summary, the networks at the credit union are generally healthy. We don't see a lot of major red flags. And we do find that frequent collaboration enhances trust and relationship effectiveness. For engagement, the levels are generally high across the organization, and we find that fairness perceptions and intergroup collaboration are important influencers of things we care about, like job satisfaction and intention to turnover. One suggestion we have, consider providing opportunities for more collaboration between the branches. Thank you very much for your attention. Feel free to contact the members of the research team. You can reach Teresa Floyd at teresa.floyd@umontana.edu. I would love to hear from you if you have any questions or suggestions.